picks and stuff. All right. You look at the agenda, it's different than. Please call roll.
Director Davidson,
Yep, here.
Director Thomas,
I am here.
Second item on the agenda is public comment. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per person on an item not agendized. Is there any public comment? Anybody online today?
there's a few.
Pardon?
There's a few.
Any public comment from the online listeners? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to approval of minutes.
Move for approval.
I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is approved. We'll move on to new business Copper Cove C transmission line. Kevin? Oh, I'm sorry. I did get that memo. I just didn't pay attention. Okay, we'll move to 4B, Ebbets Pass Water System Master Plan and Hydraulic Model. Kevin?
Good afternoon. Yeah, so the district requested proposals for the Ebbets Pass water system master plan and hydraulic model. So Ebbets Pass is our largest service area from Forks Meadows all the way up to Camp Hall and Dormington. So the original master plan was from 2005. There were small revisions made in 2013. We made a lot of improvements to the system since then, and our hydraulic model is outdated and it's on old software. So some of the major improvements we made is the surge tank at Hunters, the Reach 3A pipeline that goes through Arnold, the Reach 1 pipeline that goes down towards Forest Meadows from Avery, and then we replaced 7 tanks in the Ebbets Pass area.
The redwood tanks, is that what you?
Yeah, the redwood tanks. And then we have some other projects that are planned. So,
Was all or most of the redwood tanks grant funded?
yes, they were all grant funded in part.
We had a percentage participation though, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we, I know the last project was 75%. I think the first project was 75 also.
Okay.
And then we have the AMI data that from our meters over the last couple of years. So that's gonna be really beneficial in doing the new water model. Because a lot of the residents there are part-time residents and it's difficult to estimate the flows. So that'll be really good. So we received 5 proposals. There's two or three real standouts in the group. So we've been going through the proposals and reviewing them. And I think we're getting close to picking the consultant that we'd like to select. But we don't have that information yet. So we wanted to take this to the board for full approval at one of the upcoming board meetings. We have $150,000 budgeted for the master plan and $90,000 for the hydraulic model. It appears that that'll be just about enough for the proposal received.
Okay. What do you need from us on this?
Just recommendation. I know I don't have the actual proposal here with us today, but if we're okay with taking to the board.
Kevin, when we have seen responses to requests for proposals in the past, we frequently get supplied with a list of the people that are the classification of people that would be working on the proposal and a rate per hour. You know, in today's time with the advances in computer technology and stuff, it strikes me as having 240,000 or something for this type of analysis. I mean, they're gonna be out there doing potholing or what is, I'd like to see what they're
the scope
proposing.
is?
Yeah, what the scope is. That's
Okay. Yeah, this, so the scope's pretty detailed, so they're gonna do a full hydraulic model, so they'll put nodes for all the pipelines in the system, so they'll have to pull all the information in from our maps and that type of stuff, do a bunch of research and find out like as-built drawings and all that kind of stuff, and they'll have to pull all the information in. They'll do a hydraulic model. They'll model all the pumps we have in the system, which we have quite a few pumps and tanks. They'll look at our water treatment plant. So they'll just do a full system analysis, and then we'll have to put pressure monitors out in the system to calibrate the model to make sure it's accurate. And we've had a lot of problems just in that doing the analysis on water age. As you know, up in Evans Pass, we have a lot of problems with disinfection byproducts. So this model will kind of tell us how to optimize the tank levels, optimize the pump cycles, and all that kind of information that we can utilize to run the system better. It's also, we've been meeting with the Highway 4U group, and they're looking at potential emergency interties with our system. So we need an accurate model we have a new pipeline going down the hill from our system. So that'd be really critical in that analysis to see what our water supply and their demand on the system.
Well, getting back to the point that I'm trying to make is that, $240,000 is not chump change, and I'd like to see that if somebody was working full time on this at $350 an hour, it would be almost a half a year's of work. So, I mean, you just need to prove to me that we're getting our money's worth.
Yeah, they bill for the hours that they work on this project, and they gave us a breakdown of the hours for each classification of the employees that they have, and so that'd be provided in the when we look at the proposals, and we're looking at all that when we go through them. Look at the hours they have, and some people have more experienced people working on the project that are probably more efficient in working per hour, so we look at that too. So we're looking at really the qualifications of the people that have experience doing multiple master plans for similar water agencies to us, and people that have a specialized personnel for doing the modeling. Because really, to do it right, you really need to have somebody that's pretty much all designated to modeling. They're experts on the modeling.
It's hard to believe that if there aren't already, that there aren't going to be soon some AI help when it comes to all this stuff. I mean, particularly on a water model, it's basically equations. You think that at some point we should see some sort of savings on some of this. Even now, I know a lot of, I'm seeing where a lot of building departments, or you can have your plans checked with AI,
Yeah, the Bentley software Water Gems has a lot of AI components into it. Essentially AI that models in our system. So
yeah.
uh,
Well, we'll look forward to that, some of that savings at some point.
I just want to be on guard about you're getting 5 proposals, and each one of those proposing agencies or entities have seen this budget, 240,000, and I'm just wondering how much that influences their anticipated hours. But
honestly, they can spend. It really depends on how deep of a dive you go into the system. If you're looking at how detailed you go into a water treatment process, how detailed you're going into every task. There's a point when that analysis is not necessary to provide the information that we need out of the model. So there's always a deeper dive that you can do and spend more money to dive into these.
So you guys are setting the priorities.
Well, like Copper Cove master plan, that was several years old now. I think that was like $110,000. So we're kind of basing that. And this system's twice as big as the Copper system. So I don't think, even if we're spending $150,000 for the master plan, I think we're getting a good deal.
You started off by saying that they have to look at the piping and the size of the piping and stuff. Isn't all that information on everybody's computer on the mobile MMS?
Yeah, so they would get that information off there and put that information into the Water Gems Bentley Auto, the WaterCAD system. So all that has to be put into there. The nodes all the nodes at MMS have to be put into the WaterCAD. So that's where they would start from, and then they would have to check that information against our as-built and against our system maps. So we gave them copies of our system maps to help them estimate what they would be doing for this project. And the PRVs are really critical. I mean, we have, how many PRVs do we have on the pass? So I mean, that's a huge work effort, just getting that information into there inaccurate. I mean, every PRV takes a long time to model, every pump takes time to model. Every system, they have to, they're running the model a bunch of times, there's errors and stuff that comes out. If it doesn't match with the information we actually get in the field when we collect pressures, there's a lot of work that has to be done to make sure this model actually matches what we have out there.
Well, hopefully, if nothing else, that we get this report in a form and language that the future can just take a look at it and model it,
Yeah, in the fire flow is a huge component up there, so that's something that we'll be looking at too that I forgot to mention before.
All right, just make sure that when you bring it back to the board, that it has all those, the hourly wage rates and that kind of stuff, so.
No problem.
Okay,
Thank
right, conclude that item. Is there any public comment on that item?
Yeah, let's see if there's one.
Where are we at? I don't know who that is, so.
Francisco.
Francisco, is that you? Go ahead if you have a public comment. I think you're muted. I see, yeah, there you go. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I'm sort of disappointed in hearing that there's some reticence at spending this kind of money to get an accurate hydraulic model to represent what's physically installed and help the engineers and operators do a much better job of knowing what's going on and what's not going on. Seems to me it's be money well spent as long as we're getting a good competitive bidding process, which I understand we are with what, 5 participants?
That is what we hope for.
Oh, we don't know that we have 5?
No, we have 5.
We do, okay. And
But
there was some mention of AI having a role, and in some of the industry literature that I'm seeing already, they're already touting some of the AI features of some of these hydraulic modeling systems. So I would be surprised if you don't have something proposed that is current on that technology. So I would look forward to seeing what it is that they're proposing to see what kind of deal we are getting.
Okay,
Okay.
Thank you.
all right, thank you. All right, so any other public comment on that item? All right, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to capital improvement update.
And so at the last engineering committee, we went kind of over the capital improvement program that we had. And since then, we've sat down with our finance to review the available funds for the design and construction of these critical projects. So we examined the projects that could be rearranged in the capital improvement program to kind of align with the revenue production projections to ensure that the completion of these projects. Some of the projects have shortfalls in the funding, and staff is exploring financing options for this shortcomings. So the rate study that anticipated the district would finance over $16 million in water projects this year. And we're looking for opportunities to secure that $16 million in funding. So on the sheet that's there on the screen right now, that's our water CIP. So the kind of adjustments that we made since the last time, we moved the walls and sawmill tanks back to start next year instead of this upcoming fiscal year. So that kind of aligns with, we got a couple other projects that are coming out to bid with the Arnold wastewater treatment plant and other projects. And also we're a little late in the season to release it for this upcoming construction season. So we figured it'd be better off to bid it out in February, March next year. So then, the next slide,
Excuse me, what project are you moving out to February or March of next year?
the Wallace tank replacement, the sawmill and Arnold tank replacement, they're in yellow on the,
Okay,
they kind of, that more aligns with where we had them in the rate study.
all right.
So there's some easement items at sawmill that I need to take care of before we can do that work.
All right,
So if we go to this next sheet, it might be kind of hard to see up there, but this kind of outlines where we're looking at bringing the funds from for these projects. So we have the CIP, just for the water. So we have the CIP loan number 1 that we took out a couple years ago. So that's funding the C tank and B tank replacement projects that we have going on right now in the A to B transmission line in Jayland. And those projects will continue through next fiscal year. And then we have in purple is the grant funded projects. So these projects are you got the so the Hunter's Raw Water. So that's a project that we have funding for, just need to get, or we had funding for, and they're kind of Cal OES had to move the money to a different account, so the project's a little bit delayed. But hopefully that kicks off here soon. And then the West Point Drought Water Supply Project that we looked at earlier this year on the for Blackwater, started the design and survey for that project. And we're also going to be talking about that project in more detail at the board meeting tomorrow. That's kind of where we're at there. And then if you go down to fiscal year 25-26, which is the upcoming year here, we got the Copper Cove tanks. They're working on the last clear well right now. So they drained it, and Croswell's going to be there next week to start doing the rehabilitation of that. And that will close out that project. And the CIP loan number 2, that's for the C transmission line project. So that's the one that we just bid out. So that project we need to secure the funding to make that project 100% funded. So that's something that Jeff's group is looking into right now to try to find out the best options for that CIP loan. And then the other ones here are kind of just continuations of what we had, kind of ongoing projects. The next slide, please. So the next slide that's continuing on through 26 to 27. So we got the CIP loan number 2 there. The Big Trees pump stations, the design for those, and so on. But and then 26 to 27, similar items here. We got some grant funded, some projects that we applied for grant funding there for the Timber Trails project that was added. It's not under the rate study, but it's a tank replacement project. And then 28, 29, 29, and 30, those are past the 5-year rate study that we have right now. So those will be reevaluated here with the coming, once the 5 years is up.
all right.
So we go to the last page here. This is the total of the 5-year budget. You can see we got the CIP loan that's going to go into next year to finish off the A to B transmission pipeline. The upcoming CIP loan that's going to be for the Lake Tulloch intertie, sawmill tanks, and the C transmission line. And then we have our other tank replacement projects on here. The Wallace tanks, the Jangland tank A. And then some of the grant funded projects. So you can see there's some variances on here. We'll discuss the variances in a future slide.
Go ahead.
All right, so our next one here is the sewer side. So the Arnold secondary clarifier, we're in the last, I think by Friday, we should have that project funded with USDA for a loan. So that project is, they've been working really hard with us and it's been going really well, the loan process.
At what rate? Any idea?
It's like 3%, but that's the cap. And then it can go down, it's 40 years. And actually, if interest rates drop, it can't go any higher than that. Maybe Jeff's on it, he could tell me exactly, but it was like 3.2, I believe.
Okay,
And then, so we can actually, if they drop the interest rates, our interest rates will go down, but it won't
but I
go.
won't go back up. Well, that's good.
And then, we added we had some design money in for the, Arnold 2 and 3 rehabilitation. Those are lift stations in Arnold. We added some money to start the construction on that. Sewer force main projects, those are done, so they're coming off. SAF and tertiary. Doesn't look like we're gonna get that SAF purchase this year with Army Corps. They're in the 5th iteration of the letter report, so it's been a challenge with those guys. And then the main guy, Mark Ellis, that has been working with us. He was actually our original Army Corps of Engineers representative, and then he left and came back. He just told us this week, this is the last week, because he's taking his early retirement with the federal government. So,
Oh,
so we got a new guy. He's only been with the Army Corps for 3 months, so we got to start over.
oh, God. Well, maybe it's a good thing.
That's on the Copper Cove,
Yeah,
the dam raise and all that?
yeah, yeah. So we got a whole new group starting up. So that's unfortunate because we just got to that point where I think we're about ready to move on. And then the lower and upper cross country gravity or force main, that project's on here. And then the Biolac and clarifier, we had that last time, but there's no budget for that, so we took it off for now. The Huckleberry lift station, we're just about finishing up the revised 50% designs. So that should be, it should be going on to the 90% here soon. That's what we got for the CIP on that. So if you go to the next page, so this one, we were planning on having CIP loan number 2 for sewer, but the Arnold clarifier project, secondary clarifier and digester project is going to take up the CIP2 loan 2 that we plan on having. So these are the projects here. They're CIP loans. So those projects are pretty well wrapped up. We just have the SAF purchase for the Army Corps project. It's in-kind purchase for the SAF unit. So that's going to be hopefully get purchased here at the end of this fiscal year, and then the delivery next fiscal year. And then the West Point septic or the West Point Wilseyville consolidation is going to finish up here in this fiscal year. And then we have the collection system I&I projects that are ongoing with the I&I studies and the I&I repairs that we plan on making once we get the resolution out of those. And then so the next page on the sewer, 26, 27, and 27, 28. So they so this is where we have the USDA loan coming in here for the Arnold secondary clarifier. So there's some costs for interim financing that has to be spent over the next 3 years. I think it's like $700,000 estimate, and that takes us through the financing during the project. And then after the project's over, we get reimbursed for that $700,000 plus
Financing.
financing for the rest of the project. And then we have the then yeah, the upper cross country 27, 28. We'll start the design for that project. And then the Huckleberry lift station will be going into construction. Next page. And then in 28, 29, we got the Arnold lift station project that's starting up. So that'd be replacing the 2 lift stations. And then the upper and lower cross-country line. And if we go to the 5-year total budget, this kind of outlines where the cap, we got the capital R&R expansion funds. So there's a couple of projects that were added for we have expansion funds for West Point and South Worth that we talked about in their CIP. So those weren't in the rate study, but they're in our CIP because they're using expansion funds and not rate funds. So is there any questions on the sewer?
Russ?
Like I said before, the CIP loan too, that's not going to happen because the RMO is taking the loan. Like,
You said earlier that you were going to discuss the variances, the items that are in
Yeah.
the variances.
okay, we got a slide that it Jeff help let's make up here. If that's so yeah, so I don't know if you can see that. Did we get copy from it? Shoot. Okay, so are you able to see that?
Oh, sure.
If
Well,
not, I can go.
I'll
make
borrow
copies.
his glasses.
I can go make copies for you.
I kind of make it up.
Got some field glasses.
So this kind of goes through the cash flow by years. So we got had this 5-year CIP and the rate model. So in 25, 26, we got the kind of total projects in the rate model, but the rate model doesn't include developer funds because we don't include any projects on developer funds in the CIP. It doesn't include some of the grant funds that we just recently got. And it doesn't include, there's one other thing that doesn't include. But anyway, so kind of in the CIP, we have this tank rehabilitation program that was for replacement and rehabilitation of tanks. So there's a negative $6,000 on this item here for that because it was distributed to actual projects throughout the CIP. So instead of just having a bucket of money there, we tried to assign it to the projects that it was actually going to be used on. And so like, if you look at the first column here, we got the big trees pumps. So let's start at the top, the Lake Tulloch Intertie project. So our rate model, remember, sorry, before I say that we're already, when this next fiscal year comes along, we're already be 2 years into the rate model. So we project out 10 years, but that's not as, well, we're really focused on the first 5 years. So some of these items like the Lake Tulloch project, we just had the money in for the design in our 5-year CIP. So we're looking at, after the C transmission line project's done, then we could actually go out and construct that project. It's a really critical project. It eliminates the underwater crossing of Lake Tulloch. And then the next one is the Hunter's Raw Water Pump Station. This project's been delayed. So it was in previous years CIP, but it's not going forward. So this one got pushed forward because the delays we've had with funding from FEMA. And then we got the Big Trees Pump Station 4 and 5. So the budget in there was only $2.1 million, and that's not going to be enough for that project. It's 2 lift stations, so there would be a lot more than $2.1 million. There's a lot of complications with working, and I think this is actually at the end of our rate model, so maybe the last year wasn't included in there, so it's maybe the first year of construction. And then we got the Timber Trails tanks. That was a grant application that we have, and so we added that to the CIP. I guess that wouldn't happen unless we get the grant. Then Hunter's Clearwell, that was also a project that we determined was critical, but it was outside the 5-year rate plan that we had. And Jalen A tank replacement. So this was actually just going to be a rehabilitation, but the condition of that tank is too bad of a condition to just rehabilitate it. And functionally, the one larger tank doesn't work well for the district. The 2 smaller tanks where you can actually maintain them long-term is a better solution. The Wallace tanks, that was in our CIP. West Point Drought, that's a new project that we got the grant funding from that we're going to talk in more detail tomorrow at the board meeting. And then the tank rehabilitation. So basically that was spread out through other projects. So you can look at the variances there. So we have the rate model had $11 million in it. And then we had additional funding for, from grants and other sources. And that brings us to the 5-year CIP totals. That's where we're at with the water side.
It's unfortunate that we don't have that in front of us. It's, I'm listening to you and I think I understand it, but I'd rather have it in front of me, but.
Francisco, do you have a question about the water table here? You're muted again.
I can,
No, sorry. I left it on, sorry.
Go ahead. Are you, no question or?
what's that?
No
Okay,
question, sorry. I left the hand up longer than I should have.
All
Sorry.
right, no worries. Go ahead then.
Okay, now we're going to the Stewart comparisons right now. This one's a little more challenging. Because a lot of this stuff is, there's developer funds that haven't come in yet that they'd be funding all these projects, and they probably don't need to be built as critically as if we don't have developments don't actually happen, so.
We not even include like the basic, I know our growth has been so slow. that it's hard to even measure it, but we don't even, we're still budgeting at zero growth. Even with growth related projects.
I believe so. Maybe Jeff could answer that question, but yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, you might try to get that answered with Jeff, just on. Cause it's hard to make people understand that it's a growth related item and the money doesn't, we're not using the ratepayer money because of that. But, there is capacity, there is developer interest, and these projects won't necessarily go forward without developer participation.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, there's some immediate needs that would need to be addressed if we don't get that money, but yes.
But it's not 50-50. There's a ratio depending on the existing population or the existing.
Yeah, and we're actually working on that right now. We're doing a master plan update for the lock and tenant service area, which is expected that and copper will have the major growth. So we're reviewing that split and that type of stuff right now.
All right.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Now we have enough for everybody.
Yeah. Thanks. So now that you have the water, do you have any questions?
I just have a question for Jeff Meyer when we're finished here, so go ahead.
Okay. So on this sewer CIP, we attempted here to compare it to the rating model. So that kind of the 5-year budget for the CIP that we have right now is 27 million. That's going through the 29-30 fiscal year. So that's 27,900,000. And then the rating model had 15,472. So that's there's a variance of about $12 million there. So kind of going through the projects we have here, the Arnold Secondary Clarifier in the fiscal year 25, 26, 29, 30, there was $2.9 million in for Arnold. But the previous year, 24, 25, had another $5 million $5 million in it. So but that's time's already passed. This project's been kind of delayed with the trying to find funding for it. Now that we're getting close on the funding. Anyway, that project is the reason it's more expensive than we initially estimated. Interim finance charges The USDA required us to add a contingency to it. There was some other stuff that, like PG&E fees and stuff that had to be added in there.
Does the contingency come back?
Yeah, if you don't use the contingency, then we're financed up to like, I think, $12 million. So we've actually gone even further than contingency, but yeah, if you don't spend the contingency, then you don't have to finance it, I believe. Then we got the Arnold, lift station 2 and 3. So in the 5-year plan, all we had was the design. So we're looking to add the construction. And the same with the lower upper cross country, we only had $1 million in there in that. I'm not sure where the $1 million, exactly how we came up with $1 million, because that was probably more than the design, maybe with some right of way or different things. But anyway, there was $1 million in the rate study. And then the project gonna be over $3 million. So there's a little bit of variance there. The BIOLAC, there was $5 million in the rate model, but that wasn't funded. There was unfunded $5 million in there. So that's been taken out of the CIP. Or it was never really in there.
Well, the construction wasn't in there, but the design was. Right?
Right.
Yeah, we've been doing the design, so it's almost complete.
That's one of those ones though, that depends on, in part, depends on growth.
But it's pretty critical.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah, we're exploring other avenues for funding for that project, so, probably more to come on that, hopefully. The Huckleberry lift station improvements, that one, it was about $1 million, I think, it's $854,000. And it's a $5.6 million for construction. Southworth improvements, these weren't in the rate model because these are expansion funds. So they're not rate funds, these are expansion funds. So we had those, the West Point septic tank replacements, and then we have the collections, I&I, which.
What are the Southworth treatment plant improvements?
So there's some drainage problems there. The building needs some rehabilitation. And what was the other, we have a list of issues, but
Yeah, it's mostly associated with drainage, but certain periods of time we have fluid basically back in the corn contact chamber.
Oh,
Yeah, so there's kind of some hydraulic issues that need to be reworked.
okay.
and the West Point is you got those ball tanks that need replacement. And then the collection, I&I mitigation. So we're doing the I&I study in Lockett 10 right now. So this
Is that still going on?
Yeah, doing this rain. We'll get this rain back tracked. So for another, I think we have it for another 2 weeks. The monitor. So
Did we do the smoke test?
yeah, the smoke test found a few small issues, but nothing major.
Really? Where were they?
Uh,
That surprises me that that's all.
yeah, I mean, knock on some wood.
Well, just with all the construction, all the underground that went on, over the last
Right.
couple of years. I mean, it's surprising that more stuff didn't get charged.
Yeah, hats off to our guys, Jared and inspectors, for when George repaved Lot 10, we went back and worked with George Reed to rehabilitate a lot of those manholes, but we found 3 broken caps on the cleanouts that just needed to be replaced. And then probably the largest issue is one of the manhole rings on the top needs to be replaced where the lid sits on the barrel. It's just, if some of the concrete is eroding, it looks like it's hit. It's kind of a little bit elevated. It's by a driveway.
Let me ask you, did we include like the 8604, the entire sewer system, or was it just in La Cantera?
So we're not done. We focused this first smoke test effort right kind of around St. Andrews, Grouse, kind of the low area near the golf course, Lockington Drive. We're going to kind of push out through the system.
Yeah, because I just wonder, in regards to north of 26, by the gym over to
Right, yeah.
the Chevron, that area. I mean,
We'll get over there.
no.
Yeah, we put monitoring. Yeah, it's that. over there in that direction. So
Yeah.
we'll be able to sell other company for that because they're all not.
Okay.
Damon and Kevin, I just have a question about we're hiring this company to do these, the INI analysis and stuff. Are we observing and following that closely enough that we might be able to do that for ourselves in the future in different areas?
I think there's components that we can learn from and we can implement. So one of the things that the consultant is doing is installing flow monitoring equipment in basically the inlet of the manhole. And so what, I think if we can secure some equipment in the future, we've used level monitoring equipment to assess, key manholes, how quickly they rise. But we haven't translated that into flow as of yet. So there's definitely some things that we can learn from and utilize on our future. Yes, absolutely.
Every aqua conference that I've gone to, they have 3 different vendors that have flow meters that are adaptable to different applications. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We're working on an update to the sanitary sewer management plan right now. And one of the issues we have with level monitoring equipment that we deployed in the past is the annual licensing fees were as expensive as the initial purchase. So it was essentially like rebuying it. Longer. So we need to figure something out and make some changes, right? Exactly, because we don't want to get caught in this annual licensing fee issue. But yeah, there's definitely equipment out there that we can take advantage of and use.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Would you like to take a break?
I need one.
Okay,
Francisco, is your hand up again or?
Yeah, I just wanted to, before we get too far afield, wanted to thank Kevin for a very appreciated summary of information. This is one of the more informative presentations on all the financing that I've seen. So thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna add, I think one of the nice things about this is it paints a picture of what we know, what we've talked about how infrastructure financing planning changes over time. And so, there's some cost increases, but there's also some additional funding. There's, I think I think the good news is we're doing more with the same amount of resources than we initially anticipated, but there's also some gaps and some shortfalls, and that can shift, funding availability can shift priorities. I mean, all of that is kind of laid out here to see. So I think it is helpful to see it this way, because this is what we're dealing with on a regular basis. So thank you, Kevin and Jeff.
Anything further? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, that was pretty much the bulk of my presentation today, so we're trying to make most of what we got and prioritize them.
So, I, believe it or not, have not looked at my agenda for tomorrow. I know that's hard to believe, but we are giving this presentation to the full board tomorrow.
No, it will be next board meeting.
Okay, I just wanted to make a request, and I meant to call Michael and ask him earlier, but I'd like to see, a couple pages at the beginning of the presentation to the full board, talking about the last 10 years of CIP projects. Because at the last meeting at engineering committee meeting, we were criticized for not doing anything just because it didn't show up. But I mean, people need to understand that we've been knocking projects out for many, many, many years now, spending, hundreds of millions of dollars. So I would just like to have I think that exists already. I think we had it during the rate hearings, but I'd like to at least start with that so we can dispel some of the criticism about not doing anything ahead of what we have planned for the next 5 years. Is that
Yeah.
possible?
Yeah, I think Kelly just did one not too long ago, with the insurance committee, we can refresh that.
Yeah,
give a
just-
list of, like,
You know, just because we've added completions to that since
yeah,
it last,
yeah.
yeah. So it would be nice just to see that presentation preceding, okay, this is what we've been doing. You know, we didn't just start this work recently. This has been an ongoing effort for more than a decade. You know, and well, forever really, but. So if we could do that, you agree?
Well, I've heard you say that for the last 4 or 5 meetings, so that,
Well, once in a while it pops up, but
no, I'm in total agreement that we need to be able to demonstrate that. But Jeff Meyer, are you still on?
Yes, I am.
Okay, these are pretty impressive sheets, a lot of numbers and columns and stuff, and I see your fingerprints all over it. But you're kind of our touchstone because of the, you know, the vital part that you play in this organization. Are there any landmines in this report? Something that we're thinking about funding that we don't have the money to fund? I would expect that you would head us off and make sure we don't run out of money. Can we depend on you?
I do have a couple things to point out. If you could, Haley, if you could go back to the slide presentation and start with the water projects, fiscal year 29-30, please. That would be page 3 of 5.
3 of 5, okay?
And I don't know, Haley, if you're going to bring it up on the screen. What I'm looking at here is the final construction phase of the Hunter's Water Treatment Plant clear well replacement. If you look on the handout that Kevin provided as part of the staff report, over on the far right-hand column under variance, and it's
Yes,
shaded in pink,
yes.
we're $2.5 million short on completing that project at this time.
Well,
yes,
but we've got from now until fiscal year 29 to seek funding for that, or a grant or loan.
That is correct. And a lot of that will have to do too with how that second round of CIP loan plays out. If we happen to have any savings from that, there's a, let me double check something here. Now, when we look at financing and the use of expansion funds, that would be Copper Cove Expansion Fund 374. Based on what Habib told us, and he was looking at our master plans and our CIP studies, we can use up to 63% of existing funds within the expansion fund to be able to pay for rehabbing existing projects. The other 37 has to be for upsizing the system to handle new development. We do have some funds available in that area if need be. However, as Director Davidson pointed out, we do not, excuse me, we do not budget for projected new connections, new capacity fees, because it's just too difficult to put into pure numbers. But as more and more connections come through down in that area, we can help bridge that gap. So that is one item that is a little bit of concern to me. And again, it's out to quite far out there, 28, 29. But I just wanted to highlight that. And working with Kevin and Kylie and Michael, there's really a juggling act that goes on when you're looking at different financing, because it's important to remember any of the expansion funds that we have to be used in that service area. I can't take money from Copper Cove water expansion and use them in Jenny Lind and vice versa. The only items that can be used in any and all service areas really are the capital R&R funds. And we've really relied heavily upon those. The loan money can also be used in multiple service areas. However, the banks like to see projects that are completed, not 5 different projects that are half completed. So that's why we chose the 3 items that are there in green: the Lake Tollick Intertie, Copper Cove Zone BC, and Ebbets Pass Sawmill. Now, if we do get grant funding, say for maybe the Ebbets Pass Sawmill or some of these other components, that does free up money, particularly in the R&R fund, to be able to finish out this project at the Hunters. So that's just one of the items I wanted to show on the water side. And before I get to sewer, do you have any more questions?
No, go ahead.
Oh, let me come back to one thing, and I know it's high on your list, Director Thomas. Kevin brought up the funding in the CIP loan. The rate study itself included up to $16.5 million worth of loan proceeds that will be paid, that's built into the rate model. I've reached out to financing individuals, people I've worked with before, and they're going to be doing a study to see what is the best funding option, or financing option, I should say, whether it's going to be private placement or do we actually issue a public offering, a bond. So they're actually starting that analysis, and hopefully I'll have something within the next week to 10 days to see which direction we want to go. Please note that when you do a public offering, it takes pretty much at least twice the amount of time. We have not been rated as a district since 2010, so we'd have to go through the rating process. But public offerings can save you money in terms of interest rates. Now, private placements, we've used that quite a bit, but unfortunately, the uptick in interest rates a few years ago put a lot of lenders out of the market for issuing public financing debt, just because they took such a bath on low interest loans and then having to turn around and pay high interest rates on deposits. There are a few that are out there, and I've reached out to some at this point, and it does look like they're coming back into the market. They also hope to, when you issue private placement debt now, the banks really would like to have a relationship with you, meaning they want our deposits. Fortunately for us, we have our deposits with Umpqua Bank, and they're one of the better players when it comes to private placements. I've already talked to their head of public finance in Northern California, and they are excited to put in a bid on this loan package. So that's just wanted to follow up on that loan process there. And a private placement takes maybe 8 to 10 weeks if all goes well. Any other questions on the water side?
Nope, not for me.
Okay. Can you please go down to the sewer side, because there's a issue there that we have, we don't have enough, we have a deficiency in funding, and that's a Copper Cove lower and upper cross country gravity sewer feed and force main. And in that particular one, we're 2.4 million short. That's going to be a little bit more of a challenge. Again, we're talking about future years, but and in particular, that one would be fiscal year 28-29. The challenge comes from the ability for a limited number of customers to support an ever needy sewer infrastructure. It's not cheap to maintain these infrastructures, and we have only just over a little over 5,000 customers supporting all these operations, whereas on the water side, we have over 13,000. And so, but we're trying our best to be able to cobble some funds to be able to get these projects done, but it's a year by year review, and I don't see us having the ability to issue any more current debt within this particular rate model, the 5-year rate plan, because the money that we were going to issue debt on has been allocated to the USDA project for Arnold, And just to follow up on, I believe it was Director Davidson's question, the interest rate on that 40-year loan it currently is 3.25%. We're hoping to lock it in this week. If we do, it will not go up, but if interest rates drop, it can go down. We also do not get penalized for any prepayments when we try to pay the loan back sooner. So Kevin has done a phenomenal job working on this loan package with USDA. Damon's been part of this. It's been a real team effort, and I'm real proud of us trying to get this through at the last with all the things going on at the federal level, which has kind of been making things a little bit more challenging. And that's all I have on the sewer side.
Okay, thank you. You have anything else? Russ?
Well, we just got some bad news at the beginning of this meeting about the Army. We have to start over again with the Army Corps on that 13 million that we thought was within grasp.
Well, not starting over, new project manager, but we're not going to let him start it over. Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be in contact with him at the end of the month when we're in DC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lost our USDA engineer too, so letting them this.
Yeah.
It's been a challenge, but they've been, people in the film shoes they normally don't.
So we're basically all just so there. If we got $28 million in 5-year wastewater projects, 5,300 sewer connections is about right?
Yeah, it's about right.
I mean, it's $5,283 per connection. You know, that's pretty significant investment, you know.
For the customers,
Or,
for the customers.
yeah,
Yeah.
per customer.
Anyway, there was an agenda item over at the Board of Supervisors today that had some department or the state finance department projections for Calaveras County, and it was shocking that the state is supplying information that people are theoretically depending on, that over the next 30 years that our population is going to projected to go down 7% from what it is now.
I think it's been in a tailspin. Well, I wouldn't call it tailspin, but it's been declining for probably close to a decade.
I just, well, there was a time that I thought that, man, oh man, we're gonna just fill up this county with people, but I guess
know, I mean,
we got a bad reputation.
I went and bought a bunch of land. I was like, dumb as hell.
Oh, well, anyway, but the point that I'm raising is that I just hope that we don't trip over ourselves when we talk about, okay, we need this for expansion, you know, we need to improve our capacity here. We got to keep focused on the fact that if there is growth, that the developers by law have to pay for their area of responsibility. Anyway, I'm looking at what Jeff was talking about, that lower and upper cross country gravity sewer force main shortfall. I identified at a previous meeting that we're at capacity on that 6-inch force main, and I used the phrase and got kind of chastised for it, but it looked like a moratorium to me. But
Why don't you use it again?
I'm going to. But
It's not a moratorium.
so
Clarify.
anyway, I just, these things are in my head and I can't help but verbalize them. So anyway.
I want
Yeah.
subject, I want to see if my math is correct. So we're basically $5,300 per customer over the next 60 months, correct? So if I was to divide it's 12 months, right? So divided by 60, so $88 per month is going to sewer infrastructure replacement.
Yeah, some of it's 40-year loans and stuff for our maybe.
No, but that's the
Yeah.
investment that
Oh,
we're
yeah.
making. I mean, you know, so of the rate, I mean, I think people would like to know that. I mean, I know it's more complex because some of this will pay over, you know, a long period of time, but, you know, it's significant. Anyway,
Yeah, that's very significant.
Okay, Jeff Meyer, thanks for weighing in on that. I just always appreciate your input.
Certainly, my pleasure.
all right. Does that
Um,
conclude?
That's my final
Yeah.
word on that.
All right, well, thank you for that update. It was very thorough. Francisco, he's got to have something.
He lowered his hand.
All right.
So, I guess the next time we bring this will be to the full board.
Just precede it with an updated version of our completed projects over the last decade,
Okay.
you know?
How about since you've been on the board?
Yeah, well, that's fine too. It's just more pages.
Didn't Kelly do a presentation on all that stuff? Couldn't that be just put on the website as well?
We've
I
given various presentations on that, but we'll do an updated version for the board.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Does that conclude your comments, Francisco?
Yeah, I again want to express my appreciation for the clarity that this view provided, and hopefully it'll continue so that we can stay on top of things the way you guys do. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to old business developer projects.
Good afternoon. Yeah, we'll just go over the few of the developments that we have. These are probably one of the biggest developments that we have in our service areas. Starting with Copperopolis, we have CV Development working on the booster pump station. Their engineer has submitted 90% design, and we're working currently with the property owner trying to acquire easement. And right now we're trying to coordinate with the surveyor to go out there and mark up the requirements for this new building and the pump station. So that way we can work with them and get that easement going. So that's in the works, and after that's finalized, we'll have the engineer prepare 100% drawings and possibly move into the construction phase for this project. And Copper Town Square, CV developers have been working to kind of fix some of the issues that they've had with the lift station that pre-exists. And they've made some repairs to the wet well. Their contractor replaced the PVC piping with ductile iron piping and make connections to the existing force main. They've done some electrical upgrades to kind of bring it to current standards and have the follow-up feature just in case they run into issues. Currently, they're waiting on some backup power source so that just in case there's ever a power failure, they have something to keep the pumps running and keep the station operational in those times. So we can avoid a spill. And they're working on they have an engineer retainer that is working on the design for the force main from the lift station in Town Square all the way down to the Seventh Creek lift station along Little John Road.
Didn't we have a report that claimed that they were those plans were 50% complete or something months and months and months ago?
For the lift, they'd already done the alignment for the lift station that originally was being put up on the Little John Road, but then we kind of consolidated those plans and thought that it might be best served if they can actually put those two lift stations at just the one that exists and make the improvements that are pertinent to that lift station, put in bigger pumps, and that way they can just put all the waste from there on.
But I think the 50% submittal you're referring to was for the whole force main, not just these lift station plans.
Right.
Yes.
But
Yeah, we haven't seen anything for several months now. So they've been kind of silent on those drawings. And Sam was saying, We did change some alignments that they initially proposed, 50% was getting in over by the entrance is Saddle Creek or CV, but now they're going all the way down to our main lift station, so they made some changes. And they were waiting for us to complete the environmental, district complete the environmental review for the project. So it's been going, but not as quickly as I think the district would like.
Okay. I understand that there's a movement to increase the velocity of those environmental studies and stuff. Like, maybe
Yeah.
that's only on a national level. So,
Fortunately, this was a category exemption from CEQA, so we were able to, because the areas had already been under environmental study, we were able to do a category exemption, which is much quicker than having to do a full-blown study.
okay. Going back to the Reed Turnpike Booster Pump Station, how are you visualizing there is an existing building there. When are we going to build adjacent to it and then take that existing one down, or how's that going to work?
So the new plan, correct me if I'm wrong.
I want.
Yes, the plan is to originally, the building was going to be demolished, but the landowner really wants it. But to answer your question, yes, there's going to be a new building adjacent to the existing. And we are working with the designer, Weber Gill right now.
So the property owner wants to take possession of the original building?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
What design is Weber Geo doing?
the new pump station.
Is
That's
it,
for
is
the
it,
Reed
is it complicated?
An upgrade on the pumps, piping.
I'm just curious if he's designing a building for us.
No, it's not complicated. The building is not complicated. We're replacing the pump station essentially.
Mechanically, it's probably.
Then brings us to the Valley Springs service area. We've had two developments that's been going on over there. The Jenny Lind Elementary School enforcement project. We've been working with the school district. They've been quite responsive, and the district wants to move forward with going out to bid for this project come April. So we just reviewed their final submission of the specifications, and we will be submitting our final approval of those back to the school district so they can move forward with their bidding process on this. And then the LGI homes, these two projects will be kind of working cohesively in the sense that the school district will be tying into the into the manhole, which terminates right at the LGI property. And they will be building a lift station that would eventually pump from that point on via force main to the Huckleberry lift station. And they've submitted the 50% drawings on the two lift stations that have been there. They've hired services of Sandville, previously Coleman Engineering, and we have a meeting scheduled with them coming in the next coming week. Well, actually, at the end of this week, to go over the design and offer our comments to them.
Sam, my memory may be fuzzy on this, but I seem to remember that years ago, when the Jenny Lind Elementary School force main first came here, that they were going to have to pay for the pipeline to go all the way to the treatment plant. But now that LGI has come onto the scene, that their costs are going to be going down for that.
So they had the school district had for our MOU with them, they were to pay for the improvements, or they were going to make improvements to the gravity main. That was to go around by Highway 26 to the east side, and they still have to pay towards the improvements that will be made to that's part of CCWG's share moving forward.
But just to clarify, it was never going to go all the way to the treatment plant. It was going to tie in on the other side of 26. And now it can tie into a pump station, an intermediate pump station instead.
And that's a new pump station.
That will be a new pump station. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, is that dependent on LGI continuing to its development plans?
Yes, the LGA has been, they've been applying for encroachment permits, at the county level. We've been working with them in order to move this, force main project forward. They want to go to construction come this summertime.
Yeah, but even if it didn't go, the design, most of, if not all of the design and environmental were done for the tie into the gravity section. I mean, I know there were still some issues to work out there, but I don't think it would be insurmountable for us to pivot back to that original plan. We don't want to have to do that, but we could.
Yes, we do have the original plan where they were to upsize the existing 6-inch to 8-inch.
Okay.
And that's all I have on the development projects.
Okay. Want to move on?
What, there's talk of commercial, gas station, commercial center in the area. Is any of that moving forward or?
We attended a meeting with the county. The county is going through some changes on their planning department side where they would like any new development that's coming along. They call it the pre-application process where they actually have everybody from the county departments, county planning department, building department, environmental services, and the utilities, if they are applicable to CCWG service area. We attend those meetings and they basically laying it all out for the developer or the prospective developer to go over and anything that they might need in order to file for the application for those developments. So far, we've had a couple of interested parties in Valley Springs. One's been across from Chevron, that lot over there.
Bosti's property?
Yeah, so they've had an interested party to develop that lot where they want to install, where they want to construct a fast food joint or some sort of restaurant, and starting off with it like a similar to a gas station. And then another development that has contacted us is across from Laguna Golf Course. Those parcels, they've talked about developing those 3 parcels with some sort of storage area, as gas station, and some kind of housing project that they haven't fully settled on. So those are.
That property currently does not have sewer, water or sewer.
No, they do not.
Yeah.
So that was part of the pre-application where we kind of discussed those. But even if they filed for it, my understanding is from the point they filed, they still will have to go to the planning commission, and the planning commission will have to review that application, and it's up to the planning commission if they allow those kind of, or that business to be approved, all those improvements with her.
Is that even our service area at this point? Because our service area, I mean, LGI is not in our service area currently. I mean, they may have a facilities agreement or tentative, whatever, but that was not our service area before. We had 8604 as our service area. La Cantera is our service area. I mean, do we actually have a service area boundary in Valley Springs?
We do, at least, well, for the LGI, that is still part of our service area, and.
I don't recall. I'm happy to see him coming in. I'm just saying, it's currently property that doesn't have water or sewer on it. And we have property in India. I'm just reminding everybody, we have properties that have, water, fire hydrants, sewer. We got a lot of property over there that is already connected to our system.
I think it is in our sphere. We can
Yes.
confirm that. We are going to have to expand our sphere of influence through LAFCO for Jenny Lind Elementary School, but we serve directly across the street from where the LGI, the LGI Homes development is going to go. So I think that part is already included in our sphere of influence. And these new properties are not new, but the new,
So that was done when that new development, I'm calling it a new development in the area of Woodward or Woodward, or Woodgate, sorry, apologies. Woodgate, when that development subdivision was, improved, more sphere of influence was expanded to cover
Oh,
that,
okay.
and that's when LGI, all those developments were occurring, so they kind of included those at that point.
Okay. Well, I mean, the one thing that, you know, I know what the county wants is a centralized, you know, and again, I think our mission is to comply with the county planning process and, you know, they've wanted to centralize cities with sewer systems. And yet we are adding acreage into that don't have sewer systems. We're developing that. So I just want to remind everybody that, you know, we need to be in coordination with the county, you know, and not expanding in areas that are gonna, you know, increase, you know, the urban sprawl, so to speak. You know, we don't have to worry about your area because can't do anything over there because according to you.
yeah, I mean, it's,
I'm not-
these developments are not gonna move forward if they're not consistent with the county's general plan and zoning code. So that's, I think, you know, on the county to make sure they are consistent. And then if it is, then we'll, you know, we may
Well,
have
there's
to.
an existing land use map and.
Yeah.
And, you know. I just think we need to always be, you know, trying to make sure that we can serve that land use map.
Completely agree. Yeah, but I think that's probably what they're working through in the pre-application process at the county
Yes,
is make sure the appropriate zoning is in place.
If somebody, I believe in the last meeting that we had, it was, somebody brought up this question, and if they were inquiring about a certain type of development in that, and planning commission was upfront, and they wanted to point it out that if there is any change to the current zoning, then they'll have to go through the process of, going through and make those changes, and go in front of the board of supervisors and ask for that.
Okay. All right then.
Thank you.
Thank you. Where we at?
One,
Any other updates? Juan?
Good afternoon again. My name is Juan, and I'll be going over other updates. Right, we're gonna start with La Contenta sewer system and inflow and infiltration study. So as it was mentioned a couple of weeks ago, Loomis and district staff worked together to install 4 flow meters at 4 strategically locations. It's hard to see on the map, but the idea is to separate the system into 4 branches so we can collect the inflow and infiltration, like subdivided, so we can see which one is actually causing the most issues. The project is gonna be, the monitor is gonna be in 2 phases, one in the winter time, which is now. We're gonna keep them for a month, which is gonna include a couple weeks ago or last week we had some rain, and more rain is coming up next week, so it's gonna be good. And then they're gonna be taken out, they're gonna be reinstalled in the summer just to see the dry flows and compare the results. Any questions from anyone?
No.
All right, next is gonna be Eves Pass Water System Master Plan and Water Model. And as Kevin mentioned it, the district received proposals from 5 consultants. Those are the 5 consultants that we received. And then we started the review process. The updated hydraulic model and master plan will allow the district to plan and budget for required system improvements and maintain efficiency for current and future demands for normal drought and emergency situations. Questions on this one?
pardon?
Any questions?
No.
Next one is going to be La Contenta sewer capacity and fee studies. The district is working with Hydroscience Engineering to provide an update to the sewer capacity charges. This study is to focus on the new development and need for expansion of collection systems and water wastewater treatment facilities to accommodate the growing service areas. The district is currently working on Huckleberry lift station. And there's been some design going on for the LaContent wastewater treatment plant. And this study is just to help us understand better the system. Questions?
Go ahead.
All right. Last but not least, Procore construction management software. So this is an effort to consolidate construction management and construction inspection. It's pretty much the district is in the middle of implementing with the help of Procore Technologies, a software that is going to help us pretty much consolidate and manage our projects better. The staff is working through training programs provided by Procore Technologies at this moment.
So if you're working on the training programs and the decision has already been made to subscribe to this Procore Technologies equipment, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, we implemented it.
Yeah, we budgeted for construction management software. So this is gonna be the inspectors are gonna be able to pull up on their iPads, all the drawings, their submittals, RFIs, all the correspondence. All your meetings are arranged to this program. You can track your contracts, you can track daily reports, the inspector put their daily reports in there. It's just like, it's what the industry standard for construction management software, and a lot of the public agencies in California, a lot of really big ones use it too. So it's really popular. A lot of our contractors have it. So if they have the software ready, it makes them really easy to interact with our software. So it's just it's a tool instead of getting like 80 emails a day, all these projects, all the submittals and RFIs, especially when these big projects come along like Arnold wastewater treatment plant, LaContent, Huckleberry, a lot of equipment, different things we can route directly to our electrical engineer consultants to review it, and then it gets routed. So one of the engineers working on it as response, and it automatically routed to myself or somebody else for the approval. So you kind of keep track of what's going on, everything's in one place. So it's really turning out to be really, we're kind of throwing the implementation on some of the newer projects that we have coming out. I think it's gonna be really helpful in not missing anything and managing everything. It tells you when it's middle to do, RFI response to review, all that kind of thing. So we don't have to be chasing around on it. It's different. Sometimes our RFI gets sent to one person's mailbox and not everybody else's. So you can kind of keep track of it. There's ball in court. So if you send a change over to the contractor, shows it's in their ball in court before they send it back to you. So everything's done electronically.
Good.
May I add that this studies on the software was budgeted for the fiscal year of 24-25. And that's it for my presentation. Any questions?
I don't know any. Oh, thank you.
Here.
General manager?
I don't think I have anything else to add at this point, other than, again, thanks to Kevin and Jeff and Damon and everybody that worked on the CIP update, and looking forward to that discussion at the board meeting later this month, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Yes.
Save my updates for that.
Director's comments? Director Thomas?
Not at this time. Thanks.
I will pass as well. Next committee meeting, May 6th, 2025. Anything further? Okay, meeting's adjourned. Hey, Damon.